What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NASCAR Round the Track with the Riders, featuring myself, SterlingRider, and Duke Rider.
What's up, everybody? Another week of racing.
Another good weekend of racing at Martinsville. But real quick, before we get into the races, I want to talk about Joey Gase. As we know, he threw a bumper at Cram. I forget his first name, sadly.
Dawson.
Dawson Cram from the incident at Richmond. Well, he got fined $5,000 for that, but he picked up a sponsor, which was pretty funny. He picked up bumpers that deliver for Martinsville, so quite interesting. That kind of helped him out, I guess. They actually both got sponsors from that little powwow, so I guess sometimes it is nice to dump them in the middle of a race. So,
Well, and if you remember Josh Williams, the same thing happened to Josh Williams last year when he parked it on the start finish line in Atlanta when he got mad at NASCAR when they told him to park his car because of the damage, but it wasn't any more damage than any of the rest of the cars on the track that had damage. And he ended up picking up a sponsor from a parking lot company.
well, that just means people do pay attention to this stuff.
Right?
Which I mean,
Hey,
it's entertaining
if you
though.
could get a yeah, and if you can get exposure for you know because I mean, you talk about on brand, that's on brand. So if you could get exposure for something that's on brand, I mean, why not
Yeah,
pick them up for a race or two?
exactly. And some of those smaller teams like that can definitely use that extra cash. So I'm sure it was
Absolutely.
very nice to have that. So yeah, but other than that, nothing else from Richmond. So we will move on talking about Martinsville, starting with the truck race. So,
Yeah. So no real surprises to me in qualifying, um, just because of who all the top 10 drive for. Probably the only surprise as to how they've been running this year is Lane Riggs, who qualified third. But he took over the 38 truck that Zane Smith won a championship in a couple of years ago. So him qualifying good isn't really a surprise because we know what the team and the trucks are capable of. So no real surprises in qualifying. Really no surprises in qualifying in any three series this week. You didn't have anybody come up there and just qualify in the top 10 that you wouldn't expect to qualify in the top 10. So, um, which I guess is the way it should be. I mean, the fastest car should qualify in the top 10. I'm not a big fan of the way that the Cup does their qualifying with the different groups, with Group A and Group B, and then they take the five fastest out of each group, because sometimes the five fastest out of each group are not the five fastest car or the 10 fastest cars in the series, because sometimes Group A may have two or three cars that are faster than the top five in Group B, or vice versa. Um, I wish they would go back to just the single car qualifying. All 36, 38, 40 cars that show up for the weekend go out, they run their laps, they qualify. Whoever's the fastest wins the pole. If they want to do the 2 round qualifying, that's fine, but take the top 10 fastest cars in qualifying and let them go out and run for the pole. I mean, I think it should be the 10 fastest cars in the series, not the five fastest in this group and the five fastest in this group. Uh, but that's a whole nother situation. I mean, they do that with the Truck Series. They do that with the Xfinity Series. I mean, they take the fastest cars, and that's who wins who runs for the pole. So, uh, but anyway, let's see. We had a 20-lap green flag run to start. I'm sorry, 30-lap green flag run to start the race. Thad Moffett spun. Then a few more laps under green. Jack Wood spun, but there was no caution that came out. Christian Eckes wins stage 1. Starts stage 2. Matt Crafton hits Tanner Gray, who spins out, so there's a caution. Then we get Lane Riggs in his first spin of the night. I think he was, you remember Dodge Raceway Stadium on the old NASCAR EA Sports NASCAR games, that little
Oh
bull
yeah.
ring. I think I think that's where Lane Riggs thought we were racing because he kept doing small circles. Instead of running a paperclip, he was just doing circles. So he spun on lap 77, spun again on lap 99 along with Daniel Dye and Spencer Boyd. Christian Eckes wins stage 2 and finally pits at the end of stage 2, which kind of, and we'll talk about this along in the Cup race and the Xfinity race as well. 0 tire wear all weekend long.
Mm-hmm.
And, Christian Eckes goes stage 1 and stage 2 in the truck race before he has to pit. That is video game stuff right there. When you got your tires set on normal wear and you're running a 15% race. I mean, there should be tire wear.
Right, I agree, 100%. Especially, well, I mean, not even just at short tracks, but I mean, we saw how entertaining it was with Bristol and the Cup race. How that tire wear literally made it impossible, to where that NASCAR said to Goodyear to give them one more set of tires because they were going to need it. However, here at Martinsville, we saw nothing like that because there was no tire wear. So it was pretty much just a gas and go strategy than tire wear strategy, and to me, that's not what it should be. So
Well, yeah, because the tire wear at Bristol saved the Bristol race.
exactly.
I mean, if they would have had the tire wear at Richmond last weekend, if they would have had the tire wear at Martinsville this weekend, they would have been much better races in all the series than what they were. Truck race and the Xfinity race were a lot better than the Cup race. The Xfinity race, again, the best race of the weekend.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we get restarted after, like I said, Christian Eckes pitted for the first time and restarted 18th. And the reason he restarted 18th was because most of the trucks pitted at the end of stage 1. So they would have to pit at the end of stage 2.
Right.
So, I mean, this was a one pit stop race to 2 maximum pit stops for this race, and it should never be that way. Even if you can run, even if you can run the whole race on fuel, you should still have to pit for tires,
Right.
which we did not see. Um, the scariest wreck of the night happened on lap 146 when Grant Enfinger got hit in I think they were almost 3 wide, and Grant Enfinger got hit, and it caused him to door Dean Thompson in the 5 truck, and Dean Thompson went almost nose first in the wall.
Yeah.
The right front of his truck went right into the wall. That looked like a hard hit.
It did.
Let's see there. Caden Honeycutt gets spun. And at this point, we're on lap 158, and Christian Eckes is back up to 3rd. The heck of a run to
Oh
get
yeah.
back up to 3rd. Now, he did have some help from some cautions, but that just goes to show how strong that team is. I mean, that team has gotten so much better with Christian Eckes, and then they even added another truck this year for Tyler Ankrum. Became a 3-truck team, and the 91 truck is still kind of a all-star truck. They
Yeah.
run several different drivers in the 91 truck, but adding that additional truck has not slowed, at least not slowed Christian Eckes and the 19 truck down at all.
No, it's definitely impressive because it's very hard, as we've seen with other teams struggle whenever they either just first start or when they add another team to what they have. It's always a struggle with trying to get them to both be very competitive. So definitely a big props to Ekis and his whole team for keeping their own truck very well contending.
And, on the same note, Tyler Ankrum as well, running competitive this year. This is the most competitive that Tyler Ankrum has run in his career. He was not this competitive with GMS. He was not this competitive with Hattori Racing. You know, the 18 team, which is really funny to say the 18 team because that used to be the Kyle Busch Motorsports company truck. But of course, when KBM sold and shut down last year, the 18 number was freed up, but and uh, they Eckes's team owner picked it up and added this third team. These trucks, both of them are running very fast and very competitive. Eckes has been competitive back when he was running for Kyle Busch. He's been competitive since he jumped over to this team. But Tyler Ankrum, this could be a career-saving move for Tyler Ankrum going over to McAnally.
Yeah, uh, I could see that 100%. Just because he's kind of struggled in the past with kind of trying to stay with the team, but he's showing extreme strength with the 18 team. So I would agree. Um, Definitely.
So then we have a couple more incidences. Cam Waters involved in both of those. Jake Garcia involved in both of those. And Lane Riggs with another "you spin me right round." Uh, then another one close to the end of the race with Stuart Friesen and Matt Mills and Grant Enfinger. And Christian Eckes wins the race, which we've again not a big surprise. It's 2 wins on the year. He's really turned it up when he moved over to McAnally. I tell you what, I think the biggest thing that came out of the weekend, biggest pit road storyline anyway, is what happened after the race with Timmy Hill and Stuart Friesen. Um, Timmy Hill, from the way everybody talks about Timmy Hill, Timmy Hill is one of the nicest guys in the garage. I remember back when they were doing the iRacing thing during COVID, and it was a NASCAR Invitational, and NASCAR did not invite Timmy Hill to race in one of the races, and the fans really got behind Timmy Hill. The drivers got behind Timmy Hill. Teams got behind Timmy Hill. So he's got a lot of support in and out of the garage, and he runs his own team. He drives for his own team, and he's just back there minding his own business, doing what he does, trying to get the best finish possible for his team. And Stuart Friesen just dumped him after the race. I mean, the race was over, and Stuart Friesen just goes in and dumps him. So Timmy Hill gets out of his truck and goes, and I don't know how you saw the camera angle, but Timmy Hill is like twice the size of Stuart Friesen.
Yeah.
Um, but that was a. I did not hear audio from that. I did hear an interview that somebody had put on Twitter after the race with Timmy Hill. I can't remember if it was Bob Pockrass or Jordan Bianchi, but it was somebody, one of those two that put on the interview with Timmy Hill after the race. And Timmy's like, that was not necessary. That's out of character for him. But it was absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah, it's not something you expect, especially after a race is over. How many times have you seen a driver just dump somebody, especially at a short track? I can understand frustration at short tracks, but once a race is over, go talk to them. Don't just dump their truck. Um,
Well, the thing is, we used to see it all the time. Um, of course, but it was usually when you saw it, it was somebody that had a problem. You know, Timmy Hill would have done something to Stuart Friesen during the race, caused him to lose a bunch of positions, maybe caused him to cut a tire or whatever. But Timmy's back there minding his own business.
yeah,
Had nothing to do with the incident that Stuart Friesen was caught up in, and he just gets spun out because he's there.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, to be honest. It's just kind of weird, but I wouldn't be surprised if Stuart Friesen got fined for it. But who knows? NASCAR has been goofy the last few weeks, so I don't know. I guess we'll see.
Well, I haven't seen any news about anything like that. But disclaimer here: I'm not a Stuart Friesen fan. I have zero respect for Stuart Friesen um, at all. I mean, the comments that he made back in 2016 about Tony Stewart just totally removed any and all respect that I will ever have for Stuart Friesen. So um, anything that happens to him is no sweat off my back.
Fair enough.
So, all right, top 10. You want to run them down?
I'll run them down. So Christian Eckes won. So obviously he's first. Big congrats to him as he pushed his way from 18th all the way back up to win. We've got a veteran who finished second, Ty Majeski. Proven Always proves he belongs in a truck. So no shocker there. Chase Purdy with probably I think the first top 10, top 5 even for the season for him. So finishing in third. So that's really good to see, especially with Spire. We know Spire's strong, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, when you pick up Kyle Busch Motorsports, you got to live up to the name, don't you? Because they were championship contenders right there. Nick Sanchez picking up another top 5 of the season, finishing fourth. I would believe he's another one to look out for throughout the season as well. He shows strength. Tyler Akram, as we talked about, in fifth. Taylor Gray finishing sixth, so another good finish for Taylor. Raja Caruth finishing seventh. He struggled most of the day. If you watch the race, you could see him. He was slowly moving up. I think his biggest moving was just because of cautions. But good to see him get another top 10 of the season.
That,
Sammy
that's what
Smith.
that's what championship teams are made out of, though. They take a race where they're not running all that great and are still somehow able to manage the top 10.
I agree. Sammy Smith. drove the 7 truck for Spire, finished 8th. So all 3 Spire trucks in the top 10. Very impressive. Um, then we got Caden Honeycutt finishing 9th after, even though he spun a couple times. And then Corey Heim finishing up the top 10. So
I think that's one of Corey's worst finishes of the season.
I actually think so. If we go back and look, I believe it is. But still, a top 10 is pretty good, especially at Martinsville, I would say. Um, really, no shockers. The only shocker, I'd say Matt Kraft, and of course, he hasn't been doing well in the past period, but I mean, 12th, he raced his way up from 24th. Kind of expected, being Martinsville, he might squeeze in the top 10, but it's just one of those things. We're getting those younger drivers coming in and just out driving the veterans, but it happens. So
Well,
that's
and with
really,
with with Kraft, with Crafton, I think it's time for him to retire. I mean, he's 48, 49 years old. He's been in the truck series for a very, very long time. I remember back when he drove the 6 truck for Kevin Harvick Inc. back in the early 2000s, before he moved over to the team he's with now. I, I just don't see him as a winner anymore. And he's got, what, 3 truck championships? So I would hate to see him. I hate to see drivers drive past their prime where they're not winning anymore,
yeah, right.
and then just race and race and race. There's a lot of drivers that I could sit here and name that should have gotten out of their vehicle a lot sooner than they did. And then we had some drivers like Harvick and Earnhardt Jr. And Jeff Gordon, and that were winning races right up until they retired. I know the last couple of years of Junior's career he really struggled, but you hate to see a driver, because NASCAR is a what have you done for me lately sport. So even though he is a 3-time champion in the truck series, people don't remember that.
Right.
So they just remember what you've done in the past 2, 3, 4 years.
That's
So, and it would open up another truck for one of these younger drivers to have a shot, have an opportunity to maybe race competitive.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, like you said, 3 championships. So he's already proven himself. It just seems like probably getting at the age where he just can't really handle it as well. But that's part of it sometimes. So that's pretty much. Um, Actually, never mind. There's still points before we move into truck points, though. I know we touched on this before. I'm gonna talk about Caruth again. I'm sorry, I like him, so I will talk about him a lot. Um, However, they were talking about during the race while I think while they were lining up on the grid, how excuse me, Jeff Gordon was talking to Caruth while getting ready, getting lined up, and everything. So I just wanted to touch on again. Um, do we think he's a potential seat filler for our hot seat projector, Alex Bowman?
Next year, no. I actually, I either see him in a Junior Motorsports car. I don't know if it'll be a 5th car or if he'll be in, like, I don't know if the HendrickCars.com sponsorship will move over to maybe the 88 car at Junior Motorsports and allow them to run a full-time 5th car, or if they'll run the 17 car for Hendrick Motorsports full-time. I've seen I've seen more conversation about them running the 17 car more this year with Raja in it and maybe running a full season next year with the 17 car than I've heard talk about the 88 car. I really haven't heard any talk about the 88 car, but I know that Junior Motorsports and Hendrick Motorsports has an alliance. Rick Hendrick owns like a small percentage of Junior Motorsports, so Junior Motorsports has been a feeder series to Hendrick Motorsports. Alex Bowman has driven for Junior Motorsports. Chase Elliott won a championship for Junior Motorsports. William Byron won a championship for Junior Motorsports. Um, Kyle Larson has raced in the 88 car a few times for Junior Motorsports a couple of years ago. So who knows? I see. I'm not a predictor of the future. I wish I was, because man, if we could really do the Back to the Future thing and go back and get a sports almanac or something, and like start betting on all that, or go into the future and get a sports almanac and then bring it back and start betting on some of the stuff. Um, but I do see him full time Xfinity next year. Probably part time this year, closer towards the end of the year. I know they're not going to want to distract him from running for a Truck Series championship, but there are some race weekends there because the truck playoffs is very spread out. The races in the trucks play, so there's opportunities for him to be in an Xfinity car on the weekends where the Truck Series is off during the playoffs. So that is a possibility. I see him full-time Xfinity in 2025. And I don't know how long Alex Bowman's contract goes.
I believe it's still 2026 when we were talking about it in our preview. So
I believe that's right. So I could see them putting Raja in that car, making an announcement sometime mid-year next year, in 2025, as to that he's going to be in the 48 car. If he doesn't, I mean, if he goes out and wins the championship this year, wins a few more races, which is absolutely 100% possible and probable, and Alex does not perform. Now, Alex has been running a lot better this year than he did last year.
mhm,
A lot of top tens, but he's still not running on par with the other three guys.
right.
So and I know we mentioned this in our previous show, and we mentioned this last time we talked about Raja and the 48. Alex really he's really got to put his nose to the grindstone if he wants to keep that ride. Um, and he's going to have to win races.
Right. Yep, I agree. But I just thought something to be touched on. It's one of those things where one of those background things where they say one part about it, and so you kind of start thinking, well, why was Jeff Gordon talking with Raja? What was the conversation there? So just something I thought I'd bring up, because we don't really know, but um, definitely a strong point of direction, I would say, with that being the case. If, as you say, Alex Bowman doesn't perform for the next year or two, but anyways, we'll talk about the Truck Series points now. You want to do it? You want me to do it?
Yeah, I'll run through it. Tom Jayski first, Corey Haim second. No big surprise there. They've been up front all year. Tyler Ankrum, again, I talked about him earlier, having a career year. Uh, Christian Eckes, with his second win of the year, is in fourth. Taylor Gray is in fifth. Nick Sanchez in sixth. Caruth in seventh. Matt Crafton, and I know we just talked about Matt. He's still, even though he's not winning races, he's still a championship driver. I mean, he usually finds himself in the top 10 in points, even without winning a bunch of races. So he's an eighth. You got Grant Enfinger with a new team in ninth. 10th is Ben Rhodes. I don't see anybody outside the top 10 that's really a shocker besides Ty Dillon, Lane Riggs in 21st and 22nd. Neither one of those guys are having good years whatsoever. So they're going to really have to pick it up. I would say my biggest shocker, biggest surprise uh, in the top 10 is Grant Enfinger with that team. It's a new team to him. This team has not been a top 10 team in the past. So I think Grant is really helping that team out. And of course, he was involved in a couple incidences on Friday night in the truck race, but he's still hanging in there in the top 10. So, and the top 10 in the truck run for the championship. So if he's able to hang there, he has the opportunity to possibly run for a championship.
I agree. But yeah, as you said, really the only shockers is Ty Dillon and Lane Riggs. But I feel bad for Lane. He just seemed to be spinning top during Martinsville. So um, hopefully he can pick something up and mosey his way back up through the field. So yeah. So on to the Xfinity race.
Yeah.
So
Qualifying, no shockers, I would say. Jeb Burton in fourth, Anthony Alfredo in seventh, Ryan Sieg in eighth. You know, they've all run good this year, so it's really not a surprise to see them starting in the top 10. Carson Quaffle in his debut in the 88 car starts qualified 12th. Matt DiBenedetto qualified 14th. I would say most of the um, shocker qualifying would be towards the mid to back of the pack. Josh Williams qualified 23rd. Um, and Chandler Smith crashed in practice. The first few minutes of practice, they took the car back to the shop, rebuilt it, brought it back to the track. He had no laps whatsoever during practice, no laps during qualifying. Started 37th on the day, and I mean, so it's kind of a shocker that he's back there, but I mean, he wrecked. So had he been able to qualify, he would not have been back there
no,
for
but
sure.
definitely impressive by his team getting the car back to the shop and fixing it and then getting it back in time for the race. So not not that they were very far from shops, but you got to definitely put in some work to get that car back out there to the track on time. So big props to
Yeah,
them.
because I think if I remember, they said on the broadcast they finished the car at like 2 o'clock in the morning. They wrapped it at like 6 o'clock in the morning and left at like 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yep. They were at the track around 11, so I think
Yeah,
the
so I
race.
mean, you talk about pulling an all nighter.
Yeah, I'm sure they were tired, but I definitely just huge props to them. It reminds me during the one time I went to the Snowball Derby, one of the older stock cars that ended up in a swimming pool. Um, well,
I remember that story.
they pulled it, they got it out of the swimming pool, and they made it to the track, and he qualified and started third. So quite interesting. Um, just tells you strange things happen, but it's possible to get back to the track. So, um, like I said, props to the 81 team for pulling that all nighter, getting the car back to the racetrack, ready to go.
Yeah, and huge shout out to Junior Motorsports again, putting a young short track racer in the car. They did it last week with Bubba Pollard. Bubba Pollard finished sixth. They did it this week with Carson Kvapil, who races in the Cars Tour for Junior Motorsports. Um, Dale Jr.'s giving these kids a shot, and I mentioned on Kenny Wallace's Twitter post just yesterday. He was talking, kind of gave a quick rundown of his career and how some things had went wrong because he never had a sponsor that was able to. He was never able to be in a quality ride for a long period of time because of sponsor reasons or whatever. But he would get into a car and sub for somebody and then and run really, really well. It just never worked out for him long term. And I mentioned, what Junior is doing in the Xfinity Series, and I had mentioned Josh Berry. Would Josh Berry be in the Cup Series had Dale Jr. not given him an opportunity? Probably not. Would Brad Keselowski be in the Cup Series had Dale Jr. not given him a shot? Probably not. Martin Truex Jr. We can run through a lot of names that nobody'd ever really heard of. They may have heard of their father or their grandfather, or whatever, but they weren't looked at until Dale Earnhardt Jr. put him in a car and put him on the racetrack. And Martin Truex Jr. is a Cup champion. Brad Keselowski is a Cup champion. William Byron's is a Cup contender for a championship. I mean, he's going to win championships. There's no doubt that he'll win championships. Chase Elliott is a championship driver, but everybody knew who Chase Elliott was. We knew who his dad was. His dad was a Cup champion. William Byron Jr. started him out in his late model program. Um, he's another guy that we can mention that Dale Earnhardt Jr. took a chance on, put him in a late model, and Junior didn't have a truck series team, so he went to Kyle Busch Motorsports to run in the truck. But as soon as he went in the truck series, would have won the championship had it not been for a blown engine the next to last race of the year, because he went out and won the championship race. But then he went back to Junior Motorsports, won the championship, and we see what he's doing in Cup right now. He's the most winning Cup driver in the next gen car. So now we've got 2 weeks in a row, Dale Jr. probably taking a lot of money out of his own pocket and putting these two guys in a car to give him an opportunity to show what they can do. So Bubba Pollard did not disappoint. In qualifying, Carson Kvapil did not disappoint. In the race, Carson didn't disappoint. So big props to what Junior's doing over there.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. That's how these younger kids are getting noticed. Junior seeing them and giving them, a very generous opportunity, and that's how we get some of these younger kids that are out there short track racing into a bigger field with some even better opponents to see what they can do. And we've yet to be disappointed, in my opinion. So let's hope Junior keeps doing what he's doing, because I love seeing these kids come in and show them what they're made of.
Exactly. So, well, the Xfinity race, the couple instances in the first stage, the big one was Haley Deegan and Dawson Cram wrecked. Haley had a lot of damage out of that, but she does come back in the race. She has another incident. Erica Marola wins stage one. They go green for stage two, and we got a
Mm,
Talladega wreck happen.
yeah.
Uh, Brandon Jones in the 9 car missed a shift, slowed the whole line down, and there were 13 cars caught up in that. Several contenders. The eventual race winner was even caught up in this situation. They actually had to red flag the race for a little bit to clean it all up. Uh, Martinsville is a very narrow track, so when something happens, your choices are wreck or wreck. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no avoiding it. If you're behind, I mean, if you're behind a car that misses a shift, and when they showed the replay, whoever was behind him had him jacked up in the air, the 9 car, because he missed that shift. So it was it wasn't something that you want to see happen in Martinsville, because it took out a lot of contenders. Um, Haley Deegan was caught up in that one as well. But AJ Allmendinger's day was pretty much done. Austin Hill's day was pretty much done, and several others. Their day was pretty much, they were pretty much done for the day. So stage two, Justin Allgaier wins it. Carson Quaffle, he finished fourth in stage two, so he impressed through the first 2/3 of the race. Stage three really didn't have a um, whole lot of serious incidents. Deegan had another spin. Actually, she didn't spin; she spun Garrett Smithley. I don't know if I don't remember them showing it on TV that she was even involved. The only reason I know she was involved was because Twitter had mentioned that she had gotten into the back of Smithley. So TV, we'll talk about that later. um, Ryan Sieg spins with at lap 235. They have another pile up on lap 245 with several cars involved there. I mean, it was just a pile up. Uh, the 27 car, Jeb Burton, I think, had a tire going down or something, and he was trying to get out of the way. But again, Martinsville's a small track; it's hard to get out of the way. So caused that pile up, which brought us to a everybody's favorite green white checkered.
Yep.
So, and it was very interesting restart, because Eric Amarola chose the top.
Mhm.
Um, top hadn't win all day, but he chose the top. Was it Chandler Smith that started inside of him? Um,
Um,
and if I remember correctly, it was Chandler Smith started
I
inside of him.
think I think it was Chandler, if I remember correctly.
And that ended up it ended up being an exciting finish, or well, exciting lap, because once they got to the white flag, there really wasn't much because Eric was ahead, and Eric Almirola wins the race. He This is kind of redemption for him with Joe Gibbs Racing, because the one win that he had with Joe Gibbs Racing prior to had an asterisk by it, because he drove like the first half of the race, and then they put Denny Hamlin in the car, and Denny actually went out and won the race. So,
Mm.
uh, but it's good to see Eric win. Good to see his kids there. Were able to enjoy the victory. It's always fun when you see the driver's family be able to celebrate even if you don't like the driver, when you're able to see their family out there and enjoying the win and seeing the look on their kids' faces and how excited the kids are, that's a good thing to see. But I mentioned we would talk about TV. Um, Riley Herbst crashed at the end.
Hmm.
That's what brought out the caution on the final lap. They showed it. They showed it for all of 2 seconds on the screen. In the replay, they showed it for about 2 seconds on the screen, and then you see a car kind of barely come on camera and hit Herbst in the door, in the driver's side door, but TV like immediately cut away from it. And Adam Alexander, I'll get his name right, said something about he believed, and he said the name. I don't even remember who he said he thought it was that hit Herbst, but I mean, he backed into the wall. He backed into the wall hard. And then another car slammed into him, and TV didn't even cover it. That is inexcusable. Um, I don't know what the deal is. And it seems like they're interviewing three or four guys, and they're gone.
Yep.
They just move on to whatever's next. We have to rely on people like Bob Pockrass and Matt Weaver and Jordan Bianchi, Jeff Gluck, whoever's on pit road to post any post race coverage because Fox is in such a hurry to get to the next thing, whatever the next thing may be. But how many older fans do we have that's on social media? You know, fans that's in their 60s and 70s. A lot of them aren't on social, and if they are on social media, it's not Twitter. So they get no post race coverage really, and no update on whether TV didn't even tell us whether Riley Herbst got out of the car or not.
Hmm.
Which again, that's inexcusable. I know. We want to show the winner. We want to do the victory or the start finish line interview, which again is stupid. They should be interviewing them in victory lane. Of course, Martinsville victory lane is the start finish line, but um, why are we not at least hearing whether a driver in a wreck on the last lap is even mentioned? And I think it happened in the Cup race as well. They didn't even show the one that happened in the Cup race. Didn't even address it. So that's inexcusable, in my opinion, with what TV's doing.
No, I completely agree. Fox really needs to get it together. Excuse me. Because there's no excuse at all. We should see what happened. We should have saw that. We should have saw. We should have definitely. Should have been sure that he was okay. Because I don't even think they said anything about him. So they really need to get it together because it just seems like they don't care anymore, which is sad.
Especially since they've signed on for another 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. So,
All right, top 10 in the race. Go for it.
all right. So Eric Almirola winning it. Props to him. Glad to see him celebrate that along with his family. Watching his kids get really excited was super cool to see. Sam Mayer finishing second. Definitely a good finish that he needed. So we've been seeing him struggle all season. So I
Yeah,
bet,
he's been having a terrible year.
yeah, I'm sure he was very motivated. Hopefully we'll see something coming up next week with that motivation. Chandler Smith, who started way back in the back because it had to go back to the shop. finishing third. Again, props to the shop team. That car withstanding all of that mess of Martinsville, and finishing in the top five. Super impressive. Chandler knows how to drive that car, and the shop made sure he could drive that car. So Carson Quaffle. I don't
Quap- Quapple.
Quapple. I'm sorry, buddy. Okay. I feel really bad, but he finished fourth in his Xfinity debut. Um, being a short track kid on a short track, and I'm not surprised, but I am very impressed, because Xfinity is tough to deal with. Excellent job by him. Again, excellent for Dale Jr. to get these guys to with the opportunities to race his car. Justin Allgaier finishing fifth. Sheldon Creed in sixth. Sammy Smith in seventh. Cole Custer eighth. Jesse Love ninth. Another good finish for the rookie. And then Josh Williams with his first top 10 of the season. Seems like he may be finally getting a good step in the right direction with his team, and it's showing, and it's good to see, because I believe he can definitely take that 10 and drop the 0 and go win a race or two. So good to see that. You got SVG finishing 11th, another impressive run by him. Parker Kligerman in 12th. I'm sorry, I'm butchering names today. Taylor Gray in 13th. Brennan Poole 14th, and then Anthony Alfredo rounding up the top 15. Haley Deegan had rebounded from all her incidents to 18th. So I feel bad for her for all that. I feel like she could have done a lot better if it weren't for all those incidents. Um, so, and then Matt DiBenedetto finishing 21st. Bit of a shocker. He normally runs really, really well at short tracks. So, other than that, no shockers except, as we said, because of the uh, big pile up when Jones
Brandon Jones. Yeah.
missed his upshift, um, putting Hillheim, Allmendinger all there, out of the race towards the back of the pack to finish. So
Yeah. So no real surprises there. Um, so let's see here. Points. We got Chandler Smith leading. Um,
not
I'm not
surprised.
surprised. I mean, look at how well he's running. Even when he starts in the back, he finishes up front. Cole Custer, defending champ, no surprise. Austin Hill with a couple wins this year. Jesse Love still hanging in there in fourth. I look for him. I mean, he could pop out with a race anytime now, um, and solidify his playoff position. Justin Allgaier fifth. Riley Herbst is sixth. Seventh is Parker Kligerman. That's impressive for him and his team. AJ Allmendinger at eighth. Sammy Smith in ninth. Sheldon Creed 10th, Eric Amarola in 11th, and Eric isn't even running a full season, or um, so he's not going to be. He's not going to be in the playoffs because he's not running a full season. So that kind of moves. When you look at that, that moves Anthony Alfredo up his spot. That moves SVG up into the 12th spot, which would qualify him for the playoffs if they were to start today, which obviously we know they won't. Brandon Jones, 14th. Ryan Sieg, 15th. Sam Mayer has rebounded from the terrible, terrible, terrible start of the year to pull himself up to 16th. Josh Williams still has a way to go, though. He's still back in 23rd. So, but man, again, more runs like he's had the past couple weeks. He gets in there like you mentioned and gets him a win. Starts running top 10 consistently. I don't see a problem with him rebounding and getting his way up into the points. Of course, if he wins the race, he's in, so it really won't matter anyway. But I see him. There's still plenty of time for him to work his way up into the points.
I agree.
Other than that, as far as who's in the back of the points, there's nothing, nothing shocking back there. There's not really that many full-time drivers in the Xfinity Series anyway. There's a bunch of drivers. Let's see, there's 38 here, and most of them aren't full-time drivers. So most of them from like 31st on back aren't full-time drivers. So, and then there's even a few part-time drivers in the top 30. So, um, but yeah, those are Xfinity points for right now. Obviously they'll change from week to week, but right now there's really no major shocks right now in the points. Like nobody's won a race that we didn't expect to have a shot at winning a race.
Right. Yep. So.
So the Cup Series was an interesting race.
Yeah.
Hendrick's 40th anniversary of their first win, celebrating their 40th year this year as well. Going back to 1984 when they first started, the story of this team is Rick Hendrick was going to shut down before Martinsville. They had not been performing up to expectations, and he was running out of money, and he was going to shut the team down. Jeff Bodine talked him into running Martinsville, and Jeff goes out and wins Martinsville. So Martinsville, the race at Martinsville 40 years ago, saved Hendrick Motorsports because they won that race. So this race is the 40th anniversary of their win. It's the 40th anniversary of the team, and some ruby red race cars. All four of the Hendrick Motorsports cars had that ruby red paint scheme. And I got to tell you, this is probably the first UniFirst paint scheme that I've seen that I like. Now, I do like the throwback that he's doing to the 2014 Dale Jr. car, but this one was revealed first. So that's why I say this is the first UniFirst paint scheme that I actually liked. Still not a big fan of the number placement, but at least the scheme looked good. It was designed and looked good.
uh, I agree 100%. Of course, all four Hendrick cars looked really really good with that ruby red paint scheme. So I was even shocked how they even kept the flames on William Byron's 24 Exalta car, because I was expecting them not to look that good, but it still they still made it look really really good. So uh, nice color.
Even the normal bland paint scheme of Kyle Larson looked good with this
Yep.
red paint scheme.
I agree.
Uh,
So uh,
it seemed to me like it popped a little bit more.
well, I mean, you
You know,
saw a red car, you were like, that's one of the Hendrick guys. From the top, you could tell, ruby red Hendrick, and then you look on the roof and figure out which driver it was. So, um, but yeah, Larson on the
and they
pole.
and they almost lost the pole. He was what 1/10 of a second or 1/100th of a second faster than Bubba Wallace. I mean, he barely beat him for the pole.
Yeah,
Um, which again, going back to last week, Bubba and Kyle had that run in there towards the end of the race. Of course, there were no hard feelings, but that seems to be how it happens. If you have a run in with a driver the week before, you qualify next to them the next week. Your haulers are parked side by side, or you're sitting together at the driver's meeting, whatever. You just can't get away from that guy.
Yep.
So, um, but it was kind of it's really it's good to see Bubba qualifying well. He has never really been a strong qualifier up until this year. This year he's really picked up his qualifying game, and that's a good thing because there's been very few people that weren't good qualifiers that won races. Matt Kenseth and Kevin Harvick are probably the two that come to mind the most of people that could not qualify worth a flip, but would win races. Um, so to finish up front, a lot of times, especially with this car and this package, especially on short tracks, to finish up front, you got to start up front because there's not very much passing. So, um, not a whole lot of surprises in qualifying. Josh Berry with another good qualifying run. And I say no surprises because everybody qualifies up front is a short track racer. So, I mean, no big surprises. William Byron was the worst of the Hendrick Motorsports qualifying and 18th. Tyler Reddick, uh, Christopher Bell in 19th and 20th. Christopher Bell qualifying back there, kind of a shocker with how good he is on short tracks. Um, I I don't know what's going on with uh, Noah Gragson and Ryan Priest the past few weeks. They've not been qualifying very well at Richmond or this week. So um, other than that, no big surprises. Um, Track race record, Jeff Gordon. He set it in 1996 with an average speed of 82 miles an hour. Man, I know people that have driven from Arkansas to Florida with a higher average speed than that.
Hey, hey. We'll be giving out my secrets.
Anyway, um, yeah, so we get the green flag, lap traffic becomes a factor very quickly. William Byron was the biggest mover in the first stage, went from 18th to 8th. Um, can't say you can't pass because William Byron proved that you could,
Yep.
but even and he had help of no caution. So I mean it was all on the racetrack, but every time the leader caught the last place car, he would really struggle to pass the last place car. We even saw that late in the race where when William Byron caught, I believe it was Ross Chastain, and it got to the point to where he had to give Ross the bumper because Ross was holding him up. I mean, the leader of the race couldn't pass the last place car, but William was able to drive up to eighth. So you can't say they didn't pass.
Right.
But Bubba made it interesting with in the final lap of the stage and caught up to Kyle and didn't bump him, but got beside him for half a lap. But Kyle Larson was able to win the stage, led every lap in the stage. Then we mentioned tires earlier. Then we get to another tire problem that we have at Martinsville. Joey Logano takes two tires on the pit stop at the end of the stage and starts out front. And then stays out front, stays in the lead until lap 169 when he got passed. So there was 10 laps to go about when he got passed for the
Yep.
lead of the race on two tires. He went 180 laps on two tires with the 180 laps on the left side tires of his car. That should not happen in the Cup Series.
Mm-mm. not at all. I agree. It was kind of stupid and smart move, but I think it was stupid for from NASCAR's point to have these type of tires that weren't wearing down the way they should be wearing down. Um, so I've
So we have two 80 lap stages. The tire wear should be so significant that somewhere between lap 40 and 45, they got to pit.
right,
Either they got to pit or they're driving fast enough to stay out front, but not fast enough to be run over.
right,
You
yep,
know, uh, it's not something that should happen.
I agree. Um, but
But on that same sequence of pit stops, Ryan Blaney had to pit a second time and restarted the second stage in 24th. Again, did TV address? I mean, I know they mentioned that Ryan had to stop a second time, but did they even address why?
mm, I don't I don't remember actually. Um, I think it,
I know it was addressed on Twitter, but I don't remember. I think he had a loose wheel.
yeah,
Um, but I don't remember them mentioning it on TV, which, you know, that kind of falls on the shoulder of the pit reporters getting the information up to the booth. But they didn't mention why. They just mentioned that he had to pit a second time and was restarting back in the back. But um, it's champion. It should be reported. Anyway, Christopher Bell. Oh man, what happened? I'll tell you what happened. He lost a lug nut.
yes he did, and it didn't go well. Um,
The tire stayed on the car.
yeah, but because of that tire staying on the car, it broke it. Um, as you have in your notes, but yeah, it broke the toe link, which is not fun. Um, because sometimes that can be the reason you're taken out of the race. So,
Well,
uh,
what I thought was funny was when they showed the picture of the car and the tire. It's still up. The tire was not flat, but it had a like a ditch in the tire.
yeah,
I've never seen that before.
mm-mm. No, this is definitely something new. Um,
Usually, when you see a tire like that, it's flat.
yeah, might be something NASCAR has Goodyear look into. Then again, uh, um, tough for Christopher Bell though, because we know he's a contender. He's been championship contender the past 2 years in a row. With the championship four, so I'm sure Martinsville being um, the second Martinsville race being the deadline. I'm sure the first one he wasn't very happy with what happened. So
Well, and this, I think this is where we see it less and less every year that we go with this car. Number of lug nuts not getting tight, but um, I don't know what they could do to really stop this from happening altogether. The only thing I can think of is that they could make the feeling of the car a little bit slower some way somehow to where they don't have to rush. I mean, they're doing 9-second pit stops and sometimes sub 9-second pit stops, and that's, filling up the car with fuel and changing all four tires. And at speeds that quick, they're gonna have incidences like this happen. It did save some suspensions though because the tire did stay on the car. Even though the lug nut came off, NASCAR could prove the lug nut came off because NASCAR had to pick it up off the track. They, I mean, the tire has to come off of the car for there to be those suspensions. So, but I don't know. Maybe it's just part of the sport. We've always had something like this as part of the sport. Loose wheels have always been a part of the sport. So,
Right. Yep.
let's see. That's really the only major incident that happens in stage two. At one point in time, Hendrick was running fourth through seventh. The 5, the 9, the 48, and the 24 in that order. The 24 team started 18th. Like I said, they worked their way up to 8th. Had the strongest car, but just once they got up in the top 10, really couldn't make a whole lot of track position moves. I mentioned Joey Logano hung on to lap 169 with the left side tires, but he only fell to fifth place. So only 4 cars with new tires passed him. So overall, it was a net gain. I mean, he probably finished higher up in the stage than he would have.
Yep.
So Denny looks like he's going to run away with it, winning stage two. Um, up till this point, Denny's won all the short track races this year. Um, so, but on the restart, coming into stage three, Chase Elliott took the lead on the restart, and they even pointed it out on TV about how the crowd cheered.
Yeah. Of course.
Uh, Denny's getting a lot of boos.
Yep.
So I forget which podcast it was. I can't remember if it was Door Bumper Clear or the Teardown, where they mentioned that Denny's been booed at Martinsville since he wrecked Chase in 2017.
Well deserved. So,
So I think that's what kind of turned you into a Denny
not so happy.
disliker.
Yeah.
I don't want to say hater, because that's such a strong word, but
Yeah.
um, you sure as heck weren't a Denny fan.
No. Still not. So,
I remember you were pretty hacked off after that race.
yeah, I wasn't happy. To be honest with you, so it
So
was
here, um, 7 years later, we're still booing him for one incident.
yeah, well, it's okay. We still boo Kyle Busch too for the what was it, the Bristol incident. Um, kind of happened. Same thing happened. Chase got dumped by Kyle, who thought there was a hole big enough for his car to squeeze in.
Oh, that was at Darlington when they came back
Was
from
it? Ah, it was
COVID.
Darling.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Yep.
Well,
I
I have been anti Kyle Busch since he wrecked Dale Jr. at Richmond in, I want to say it was 2008.
well, I just remember Chase's response to that dump. The good old uh, Twitter bird that became a very popular meme for a year or two. You still send it to me on occasions when something stupid
I like
happens.
I like my Ricky Bobby one better though.
That's fair enough. So,
Um, so then we had green flag pit stops with started out with 103 laps to go. William Byron was the first to pit. Um, and then a bunch of them pitted the next lap, and then Denny pitted after everybody else pitted. Denny came out side by side with Chase Elliott, came out of the pits. Um, Chase was able to get by. Denny said he got caught up behind the 47 of Wreckham Ricky, and that allowed William Byron and Kyle Larson to get by. William actually came out of the pits in fifth, but because he had those 2 laps newer tires, which really didn't make up for a whole lot, but um, when you go back, you watch him come. I mean, you talk about the way he was cutting through. I mean, he was very aggressive. William was to get back to get um, past the lap cars, to get past Larson, to get past Hamlin, and then drove up and passed Chase very aggressively. I mean, he didn't. It didn't. There wasn't a whole lot of contact, but he was weaving in and out of traffic. He was putting the car where other people weren't going and was making passes. So when by the time the pit cycle, everything had cycled through, everybody had pitted, William Byron was in the lead.
Yep. Impressive for sure, especially being at Martinsville. So,
Yeah, where nobody seemed to be able to pass except for William Byron.
yep.
Started 18th, finished 8th in both stages, and then was in the top five, top 6 when pit stop started. But he was the first to pit, and that kind of what set him up, put him in position to get out in front. Um, Very impressive with what he's able to do this year. This is the again we talk about tire wear. This is a problem. I don't watch races for caution. For wrecks, that's not my reason for watching races. If a race went green from lap 1 to the last lap, I would be okay if there was some sort of strategy to play in. Um, on the super speedways, we've seen, of course, since they started stage racing, we haven't seen it, but before we had seen super speedway races go without a caution. And so pit strategy had to come in. Who do you pit with? How many cars do you pit with? You know, are you going to keep the draft? Are you going to lose the draft? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is the longest green flag run at Martinsville since 1996. That's a
Interesting.
long time.
That is a long time.
Uh,
Almost 20
I was
years.
I was a sophomore in college in '96.
I didn't exist.
This is true. Um, but that one was also won by the 24 car, uh, who was which was driven by Jeff Gordon, who I despised um, because I was a Rusty Wallace and um, I was a big Ford fan back in those days with Rusty Wallace, Mark Martin, um Dale Jarrett, Ernie Irvin. Um, those were I was a Ford guy.
Yep.
Um, I wasn't an Earnhardt fan even at that point in time. So I was Ford. I was anti Chevy. I was anti Pontiac. Um, anyway, we get down to 2 laps to go. John Hunter Nemechek hits the wall, has a tire go down. And I was like, okay, that should not have been a caution. Because when you looked at it, it it was another car brushed the wall. Nobody was around them, but then they couldn't open pit road because he had laid a lot of fluid down on pit road. So uh, it was probably a good thing that they threw that caution.
Yep.
I hated to see it. My driver's leading, your driver's in second, chasing him down. Hendricks running 1, 2, 3. Denny Hamlin's not going to win the race.
Always a good thing there.
Um, Caution comes out. The only time you want the caution to come out is when your driver is not leading and has an opportunity to win the race.
Right.
When your driver is leading and has a second lead, and there's 2 laps to go, you're like, please get to the white flag, please get to the white flag, please get to the white flag. You don't want to see a caution, but caution did come out. Brought I had Denny Hamlin down pit road. This was a case of the only way you're going to have a chance is to do the opposite of what the leaders do. I almost guarantee you that his crew chief thought there was going to be a lot more people behind him pit. There was only 13 cars on the lead lap.
Yep.
So if Denny Hamlin pits from fourth, maybe fifth on back pits, and then the Hendrick trio up front, they're sitting ducks. I mean, they've got 100 laps on, and I know we're talking about there's no tire wear, but one or two of them was going to get passed
Yeah.
if everybody behind him pitted. But not very many pitted, and Denny had to restart 10th. And on a green, white checkered restart, he wasn't going to do much better than that.
Mm.
Now, if they'd had to have multiple restarts, which, I mean, again, who knows? Is somebody going to miss a shift up front and cause, the outside line to pile up or the inside line to pile up or maybe both lines to pile up? And Denny's able to work his way through there and get up into the top five, and then on the next restart, kind of force his way through. But didn't happen. William Byron goes on to win 14 cars on the lead lap. We went 14 laps further than the scheduled distance because it took them so long to get pit road cleaned off. Um, William Byron won. I mentioned that. There was a wreck in turn 4 after the white flag. Fox never showed it, but Mike Joy did mention it. Had absolutely no idea who was involved in this wreck.
Mm-mm.
This is Tuesday. I still don't know who was involved in the wreck.
Mm-mm. No idea. I don't even remember.
Uh,
I don't even remember Mike Joy mentioning anything. That may just be on my end though. But
again, this is something that NASCAR needs to address this stuff with their TV partners. If there's an incident on the track, you need to show it and you need to address the situation. Let people know that that the driver's okay, because it could be somebody's favorite driver,
mm-hmm.
and I don't know who is involved, but just let me look at the rundown real quick. Um, but let's say that of course, Josh Berry had a speeding penalty, so that's what burned him. He was never able to recover for that. But let's just say Josh Berry's your favorite driver. Josh Berry's caught up in the wreck on the last lap and gets hurt. And then Monday or later on Sunday evening, you find out that Josh has a broken leg.
Mm.
But TV never addressed it. I mean, you're going to be aggravated. You're going to want to know, okay, why? Why did TV not address the fact that a driver got hurt, or that he even that he got out of the car and there was no problems? I mean, NASCAR needs to address this situation. Fox needs to show these incidences and then let us know that the drivers got out okay.
I agree, 100%. There's no excuse. It's information we should know and that we need to know because, I mean, like we discussed with Xfinity when Riley Hurst. I mean, we knew it was Riley, but we didn't know if he was okay. We didn't know what happened. We didn't know anything, except that he was wrecked and his car looked pretty banged up too. So, um, I, NASCAR needs to say something to Fox. Will they? Don't know, but they need to for sure. Because it's kind of ridiculous to be honest. So
Yep. So let's see some notes on the finish. Ryan Blaney rebound to finish fifth. Great rebound. Mentioned that that's what championship teams do.
Hmm.
They have adversity and they're able to salvage a good finish. Denny Hamlin finished 11th after pitting. Hendrick Motorsports finishes 1-2-3. First ever 1-2-3 finish by a team at Martinsville. Um, what better day to have Hendrick finish 1-2-3? Uh, almost wish it would have been 1-2-3-4 finish. I like they had at Dover a few years ago. Alex Bowman ended up finishing eighth, but uh, William Byron winning, Larson finishing second, Chase Elliott finishing third. It's pretty great to see. And I have in my notes top 10. And the reason I have this is because there's a shocker here. When you look at the top 10, you got all four Hendrick cars. You got both 2311 cars. You've got two Roger Penske cars. You've got two SHR cars. Zero Joe Gibbs Racing cars finished in the top 10. And Denny Hamlin is the only one that finished on the lead lap in the top 15. Talk about a shocker when it comes to finishes at a short track. Ty Gibbs, I mean, I don't even think they mentioned him all day. Same with Truex. I don't even remember them mentioning him. Christopher Bell, they had to mention him because he had a tire fall off his car, or at least a lug nut fall off his car. So after seeing Denny Hamlin dominate the three short track races of the year, and they don't even finish. They don't even have a team. One of their teams finish in the top 10.
Which isn't usual for them. So
Oh, you want to give the top 10 rundown?
all right. Well, top 10, as we said, 1, 2, 3 with Hendrick, William Byron winning, Kyle Larson bringing up second, Chase Elliott in third, Bubba Wallace with a strong run, finishing fourth, Ryan Blaney, as you talked about, finishing fifth, showing that he's a champion, former champion, and beating his way through the crowd. Joey Logano with his two-tire pit stop at the end of stage one, finishing sixth. So his gamble paid off. Tyler Reddick finishing seventh. Alex Bowman finishing eighth. As we said, all four Hendrick cars finishing in the top 10, which seeing Bowman in the top 10 is kind of surprising, but as we discussed, he needs it. He's got some work to do, but we see him putting it in. And then Ryan Preece finishing ninth and Chase Briscoe 10th. Um, so not really any shockers. I would say Ryan Preece is a shocker, actually, just because you don't. He's one that has really struggled, and you don't see him up there. Um,
Well, that's one of those short track things.
but
He's a
yeah,
short track racer.
he
So,
is he is indeed proven wheel and modified racer, and all their tracks are short track. So um, good to see him up there though. So um, then I'll go on to the top 15. Hamlin, as we discussed, finishing 11th. Eric Jones and 12th. Todd Gilliland 13th. Ross Chastain 14th, and then Chris Buescher in 15th. So
so yeah, not. I would say the big surprise out of the finish of the race is like we talked about with the Joe Gibbs cars not having any in the top 10 and only one in the top 15,
yep,
and only one on the lead lap.
yep.
So, all right, for our points, let's see. We got Kyle Larson leading. Raise your hand if you're surprised. Martin Truex is second. Again, raise your hand if you're surprised. Um, the past couple years, these two have been battling for the regular season championship. Um, Actually, I'd say for the past 3, 4 years, really since Larson got in the 5 car, him and Truex have been battling pretty much almost every year for the regular season championship. So to see those two first and second in points is not a surprise.
No.
Denny Hamlin in third with multiple wins. William Byron in fourth with the most wins of the season with 3 so far. And I even mentioned that he's got the most wins, 11 in the next gen car. I think the next closest is Kyle Larson with 8 in this car. So Ryan Blaney in fifth, Chase Elliott in sixth. Chase really needed the run that he's had the past couple of weeks. It's good to see him back-to-back top fives,
Yep.
which when you consistently run in the top 10, that wins just around the corner. And he had a chance to win the race. He did, on that green white checkered, he was able to bump William and kind of get him up the track, was never able to get beside him. Could have probably pushed the issue more than he did. If it had not been his teammate, he probably would have. And probably would have gotten him a win. But with it being his teammate, do you want to be the teammate that comes into the meeting on Monday because you wrecked yourself, you wrecked your teammate who was leading, and somebody else from another team won the race on your 40th anniversary celebration?
Yeah, it's a fair reason when you really look into it. So um, yeah.
Ty Gibbs in seventh, Chastain eighth, Reddick in ninth, Alex Bowman in 10th. He's performing. He's just not performing at a winning level. If the playoffs started today, he would be out in the first round, in my opinion.
Yep.
Christopher Bell in 11th, Bubba Wallace in 12th, Chris Buescher in 13th, Joey Logano in 14th. Joey's had a rough start. This is his first showing in the playoff picture since the beginning of the year. Kyle Busch in 15th, Chase Briscoe in 16th. Suarez is 17th. Brad Keselowski has fallen out and is 18th. Nemechek 19th, and Eric Jones is 20th. My panic button. Of course, we held off on Joey Logano needing to hit the panic button, which the past couple weeks he's been able to work his way up. If they start hitting these mile and a halves and Logano continues to struggle, it's time for him to hit the panic button. Kyle Busch needs to hit the panic button. He seems to run further and further to the back every week. Seems like he's a position or two back from where he ran the week previously. But the big button that I think, big panic button, is Brad Keselowski and even Chris Buescher. I mean, neither one of them have been running well the past 2-3 weeks.
No, I agree. Both both race winners. Brad's a proven champion. Um, and we saw them contend. They were doing Chris Buescher especially doing really well last season. So I'm sure they're trying to figure out what they're missing so they can get back into it. As it just seems they've been struggling. I think their best finish was a top 10, 8 and ninth at Richmond, I believe, last week. But that's their best. Other than that, they've really struggled this season. So
All right, fantasy. What'd you have?
um, well, Trey's didn't change again. um, he's putting in a lot of hard work. So shout out to him for putting in work cause he's still trying to get his first car. So he's putting in the work to get that money for it. So but he had for the third week in a row Hamlin, Bell, Blaney, Larson, Bush, and then he had William Byron in the garage. So
Kyle Busch being in his lineup and Byron being in the garage has been killing him.
it is biting him hard. If he would just probably go in real quick, switch him, he'd probably do really well. In my lineup, so I actually forgot to change mine as well. So mine is still the same as Richmond.
You
So
idiot!
forgetting to change the lineup and then not doing the featured matchups hurt me. But I still had a decent lineup. I had Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain didn't do well. He hurt. He kind of hurt me. Martin Truex, he hurt me really bad. Struggled very badly. Denny Hamlin, man, finished 11th. He got me some points. And then Kyle Larson. And then I had Ty Gibbs in the garage. But when the race started and I had realized, oh crap, I was like, this is actually a pretty good lineup for Martinsville, considering the pass and then considering Ty Gibbs, how well he's done at the short tracks. But yeah, it still bit me in the butt.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of the featured matchups. I probably would have lost half of them anyway.
Yeah, I went 50-50 on the featured matchups.
So
I got two of them. I got two of them right, two of them wrong. But my lineup, I had Bubba, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Josh Berry, Denny Hamlin. I had Trex in the garage, which was probably a good thing. Josh Berry was running great, and then he had a speeding penalty on pit road, and I think it was the end of the second stage, and it put him back. He was never able to recover. I still didn't trade him. I mean, I would have gotten like another 5 points for switching him and Truex, but um, yeah, I mean, I had second, third, fourth, and 11th in my lineup. So um, I took William out because he struggled at Martinsville so bad in the fall last year. I was kind of worried. Plus, he qualified 18th. So again, I was kind of worried. But you can only use these drivers 10 times. And I was wanting to save William for a couple races down the road. Um, so I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't. But yeah. So what's the points?
well, I'll go over Martinsville just, but you came in first for the week with 228. If I had taken Truex, if I had remembered my lineup, I probably would have done better. But it's okay. You had a uh, pretty good lineup for what was going on. So I came in second with 192. Still pretty solid for completely forgetting about it. I had a busy week, to be honest, so I completely forgot. And then Trey came in last at 149. Uh, but I know he's working hard. So overall,
So set you an alarm for Saturday afternoon and title that alarm change your
fantasy
fantasy
lineup.
field.
Yeah, I
That way
probably
you
be
remember.
probably be very
That way you
smart.
remember.
Cause during the weekend I was catching up with an old friend and playing a game with him. So that's another reason why I forgot as well. But anyways, I'm no longer the leader overall. You have overtaken me. You are now first with 1496. I'm still capable of coming back though at 1475. You have a 21 points on me, which still plenty of racing to go. So if
Oh, it's just gonna grow from here on out.
yeah, okay, yeah. The only
Next week
reason
it'll be a.
you got me this time is because I completely forgot. If you get me to forget another few times, you'll probably win. But I don't plan on forgetting. So Trey leading up last but not least at 12:48. Um, again, he's been busy, but he even if he could remember, he probably would have a fighting chance if we just have a wacko race and he somehow beats us both. I don't see that
Yeah, but the
happening,
only thing is
but
you can only pick a driver 10 times, so he'd run out of Kyle Larson real quick.
Uh, yeah. Well, he's probably used him up almost, just because he just had him for the last 3 races. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, our head-to-heads, we are tied at 9 apiece. Um, this weekend, I was able to beat you 2-1. You had Enfinger in the trucks. He finished 22nd. I had Jayski. He finished second. You had Jesse Love in Xfinity. He finished ninth. I had Eric Amarola. He finished first. In the Cup, you had Kyle Larson. He finished second. I had Josh Berry. See, Josh Berry let me down in both of our competitions. In the fantasy and then the head-to-head. So anyway, we're tied up at 9 apiece. So who's your picks for this week for our truck?
All right. Well, we're going to Texas. Texas. Um, I've got 2 options here. But I think, as I've said, I'm talk about them a lot. I'm gonna go with my favorite. I'm gonna go with Raja Caruth. Um, Texas, a little bit bigger than Vegas, yes, but strategy is kind of lines up the same. At least it does on the NASCAR Heat 5. So hopefully this helps me. Um, but we've talked about him. We know, he's proved himself as a winner at Vegas, and he's doing really, really well this season. So I'm gonna stick with him. I'm going with Caruth for trucks.
I'm gonna go with his teammate Kyle Busch, who's in the 7 truck again this week. Again, this is one of those tracks where if you put the truck under Kyle that he needs, he will win. And even if you give him a truck that may not be the fastest truck in the field, he'll get you the adjustments throughout the race that'll get you up front. So plus, I think Kyle in the truck series, Kyle's just 2/10.
Yeah.
I mean, you could put him in the slowest truck in the field, and he's going to run 2/10 faster than the truck is supposed to run. So all right, Xfinity.
Xfinity. Let me go over to it. Um, See, this one's tough. Um,
There's a lot more to pick from in the Xfinity field than there is in the truck field, isn't there?
yes, yes, there is. But man, I don't know. So many good options. Um, but I'm gonna go with my buddy, Mister Park It and Leave It, Josh Williams. As he's coming off some momentum, so I think he'll continue to build on it, and we'll see something happen here.
I can't believe you stole my pick.
Well, to be fair, my 2 picks between for truck was between Caruth and Bush. I kind of figured if I had picked Caruth, you would pick Bush. So to be honest with you, so I had to take your Xfinity one from you since I let you have your truck.
Well, I'm going to go with a driver that is desperate for his first win in the Xfinity Series. And he is with a team that is very capable of winning. So I'm going to go with Sheldon Creed.
Okay.
Now I got
Um,
to get down to my who I've picked already in Cup, because in Cup, those of you this may be the first time turning in Cup, you can only use a driver one time. In the Truck and Xfinity Series, you can use the same driver every week if you want. And we
which
will reset when the playoffs begin, and you'll be able to use whoever you want in the field. So, who's your Cup pick for this week?
Dude, this sucks because who I would pick, I've already picked. Two people I would pick, I've already picked. Oh boy. Well,
Chase and Kyle.
no, actually, Truex and Kyle.
Ah, okay.
But Hamlin even, but I've already picked him. But I'm actually gonna go. I'm gonna go with Tyler Reddick. Um, we've
Okay.
seen him
Wow.
do well before at a speedway, so probably not who you expected me to pick, is he?
No, because I would have saved him for a road course. But yeah. Okay.
Well, thankfully there's road courses in the playoffs, so I can pick them again when that happens.
Well, that's
Hopefully.
that's true.
Knowing me
Let me
though,
see.
that
Let me.
would bite me in the behind with my luck though. So, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna pick Tyler Reddick. So
All
who's
right.
your?
Well, I tell you what. If you're gonna go with Tyler, I'm gonna go with Tyler's teammate. I'm gonna go with. I've already picked him. Dang it!
Have you
I've
actually?
already picked. Yes, I've
You
already picked Bubba.
you
Oh,
have picked them.
yeah.
Oh no! When did you pick 'em? I don't remember you picking them. Well, let's see. You
Well,
picked them.
I've got them in order. So whoever the
So
third. Let's see. We started at
Atlanta.
Atlanta, so the race after Atlanta was where I picked him. Um,
What was after Atlanta? I done forgot.
Vegas. I want to say Las Vegas.
I believe. Yep, Las Vegas. That sounds right. So yeah. Well,
Man, I'm not ready to use William. Let's see. You know what? I use him to get him out of the way. I will pick Alex Bowman.
okay, that works. I guess. But
I mean, I'm saying I'm going to pick him to get him out of the way, but
I mean, he's been running well for the season and the past couple of weeks. So honestly, not a bad pick. He's coming off some momentum. So so
yeah.
there you.
So yeah, the other big story of the weekend of the week for us was the eclipse. We were able to, we live in the totality area. Really pretty cool. Once in a lifetime possible thing. But yeah, that was pretty neat. I know we sent you some pictures, but pictures didn't do it justice. I was really like, it's not really a big deal until it got to about three quarters, and then it started to get kind of like dusk in the evening time, but yet the sun's still in the middle of the sky. You still got the shadows from the trees, and it just kind of got a little eerie. I mean, the temperature dropped rather rapidly. Birds were flying low. Your brother almost got hit in the head with a bird. I mean,
Dang.
that tells you how low they were flying. Yeah, the bird came down and just almost hit him right in the head. Um, and then I was thinking that when we got the total eclipse, that it would get like nighttime dark, but it just got like late evening dark. Like sun had just went down dark. But it was pretty cool. It ended a lot faster than it started.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It got bright. It got brighter and hotter faster than it got darker and cooler. But it was still something pretty significant to see. You could hear from where we were at. You could hear people cheering, crowds that had gathered that were cheering. So it was a pretty good experience to see. So I know it's not NASCAR related, but it's life related. That was pretty cool.
But a lot of NASCAR drivers, as well as a lot of other athletic people, athletes. I don't know why I said that, but also enjoyed it. So uh, good good experience that y'all got to see. I didn't get to, but it's okay. There was work to be done here, so but yeah, I'm just glad my brother enjoyed it. That was my main concern. So I'm
Yeah, he was
questioning.
in awe.
I'm just questioning how many dum dums didn't put the glasses on. So but anyways, yeah. Um, like I said, cool experience. I didn't experience a total eclipse, but I experienced a I think it was like a three-quarters eclipse back when I was a kid. Um, so it's really cool to see. So I doubt it'll happen again, but again, I don't. Well, a total eclipse definitely won't happen, but an eclipse might happen again. We'll
Well,
just
the
have to.
the next the next scheduled one for the United States is 2045.
About
So,
22 years.
well, now there is supposed to be one in Egypt in 3 years, but I'm not going to Egypt to see it. It's not worth that.
No thanks, I'm good. I like I like where my feet currently sit. Um,
But who
so
knows? As with what NASCAR's talking about, we could have a race in Egypt in 3 years. So if we want to go to all the races, we may end up having to go to Egypt anyway.
that's
Oh,
funny.
who knows what NASCAR is going to do?
That's good point. But anyways,
One
um,
more one more tidbit of news. I don't know if you saw this or heard the conversation. SHR is rumored to have two charters going on the market. I know we've mentioned that before, but it's pretty much been confirmed that one is definitely going to be sold and two is probably going to be sold. And what was released today was that they're probably going to be sold for a lot less than they were worth last year, just because Gene Haas wants to get rid of them.
mm,
Uh, but on that same note, a charter agreement between NASCAR and the teams still hasn't been reached. So I'm pretty sure that's what the holdup is to these going actually coming out and saying that we're going to sell them is they're waiting for because if there's no charter deal in place next year, there's nothing to sell.
right. Uh, it's a good. Glad you brought that up because I mean we talked about it last week. But again, something we'll keep tabs on. We'll keep ourselves updated and keep y'all updated with because as it
It's,
comes out, that's how we learn. So
and it's definitely getting talked about. It was definitely talked about more this week. The whole charter agreement was talked about pretty much on every podcast this week. So, because it's a process that should have been done last year and they're still not done.
yep. So
So, anyway, next. Your lips are moving. I cannot hear what you're saying.
technical difficulties again. Headset didn't connect this time, but somebody decided to try and call me, and I don't know why. But having Apple products, it's a hassle. Kind of stupid.
Everything's connected.
Yep. So it came through on my phone, but I guess my computer, I don't know, because I have a MacBook. I don't know. I'm sorry. Thanks, Trey. Um, just text me, man. Text. I don't answer the phone, especially when I'm busy. But anyways, um, what was I? I don't even remember what I was saying before I realized what happened. So,
I don't know. I just know that we finished talking about the charter system
but,
and all that, and was getting ready for our shout outs.
I think that's what I was pretty much just gonna say. That's it for this week. But as usual, we'll go over our shout out. So I'll let Duke Ryder do our non-sponsoring shout outs. But we'll move you to the shout outs part, the sponsored uh, part, if you want. So, anyways, go ahead.
So we got the Scene Vault podcast with Rick Houston and Steve Wade. Give it a listen. Door Bumper Clear, TJ Majors, Brett Griffin, and Freddie Kraft. If you need a laugh for your week, go and listen to them. They always have something that they make fun of each other about. Dale Jr. Download on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Actions Detrimental with Denny Hamlin. Denny was very blunt this week about what he thinks needs to happen with the short track package. And um, I got to say, I agree 100% with what Denny had to say. The Teardown with Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi, they had a lot to say as well about the short track package, and I agree with them as well. Um, Happy Hour with Kevin Harvick on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Stacking Pennies with Corey LaJoie, I believe comes out on Wednesday. Follow Bob Pockrass on Twitter. Follow all these guys on Twitter because they're all, even Denny's a lot of fun to follow on Twitter. But follow Bob Pockrass as well. Get your stats from Trey Ryan. Get your stats from Jayski on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, or jayski.com. Check out Matt Weaver. Follow him on Twitter. Follow Couch Racer on Twitter. And buy all of your diecasts that you can buy from circlebdiecast.com. And real quick, this is something that's really cool. They're putting out a 124 scale 3-car set of the Hendrick Motorsports cars, finishing 1, 2, 3, with identical diecast identification numbers on each car, special packaging, and each car is going to look like it looked when they crossed the finish line. So if you're not a fan of the confetti, but you want William Byron's win car, there's a chance to get it. If you're a fan of the confetti, though, you can order William Byron's win car from Circle B Diecast. But if you want the autographed version, you've got to go to WilliamByronStore.com or Hendrick Motorsports Store.com. You can get your Elite from First Class Diecast, which Circle B does all their shipping for them. So you're all when Circle B ships something, it's packed very securely. It's going to come to you quickly, and they're just great people to work with. And we really, really, really want to move them down to the sponsors thing. If all they want to do is give us a discount, or maybe help us to get some cars to start doing some reviews on. They could ship them to me. I could do the review on them. I could ship them back. Something like that. That way I wouldn't have to purchase them. Anything like that. Circle B Diecast, hit us up, man. We'll jump on it. I know I haven't done any diecast reviews yet, but I've been busy. But if you want to sponsor and send me some that you want back to sell, I'll be more than happy to do some reviews for you. Anyway, that's all I got. So I had finished up with the shout outs.
Yep. So apologies again. Technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on. Apple's being Apple, I guess. But I'll stick with them. I'm not an Android fan. Anyways. As I was saying, the non-sponsor shout-outs, go check out all the podcasts. Check out Circle B, and check out everyone on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Twitter. in my opinion. Anyways, for our sponsors, big thanks to these awesome guys, companies sponsoring me, the channel, of course, Swift Grips, Analog Swift Grip, Swift Analog Grips. I'll get it out in a minute, English, for all your controllers, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo. For you sweaty gamers out there, you can use code SterlingRider for 10% off with them. And also, you got my favorite energy drink in the whole wide world, a Dubby. They just released 3 new anime shakers. Don't judge me. I just bought them so I could showcase them. Plus, this one's cool because I like swords anyway. So this is the anime swords dude. There's also a female and a wolf. The female one's purple and the wolf one's black. So go check them out. The new shakers just dropped. You've obviously got the energy formula and the hydration formula. Hydration formula is great. I use it when I go to the gym, stay hydrated. So check them out. You can use code SterlingRider for 10% off with them as well. Also check out their app. Download it from the App Store, as you can get exclusive in-app merch. I think that's the right word. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't do well in English. I don't know if y'all figured this out yet, but I did not. And then, of course, you see it on my head. Rankest rope ranch wear, retro western wear mixed in with rodeo theme. Super cool. I love it. Super comfy shirts, some button-ups, some hoodies, beanies, hats. They also have bundles. They just released tank tops for the girls, so go check them out as the summer heat approaches for the lower 48 states. Not for me. And also a sticker pack. I'm actually waiting on the sticker pack to come in. I'm super excited for it. I like my stickers. Probably going to slap one on the back of the truck, as I usually do. So you can use code SilverDuke15 for 15% off with them. All 3 links will be in the link below, along with all the podcast links for the Apple Podcasts. Just go search them in the search bar if you use Spotify or some other way of your listening to your podcast. And then all the Twitter links are down below as well. So go check them out. And yeah, so that's all I got for this week with Martinsville. Anything else?
Who can believe that we are excited to go to Texas after Martinsville?
I'm excited. I don't know about you.
I know, but I mean, it's the thing is, we used to be really excited about the short tracks, and we were like, "Oh man, we got to go Texas. Texas is one of the worst races on the schedule. Please take away Texas States and give it to somebody else." And now we're like, "We're going to Texas."
Yep, that is true.
We're no longer in Martinsville. We're going to Texas.
Oh. So.
My fear is that NASCAR is going to screw up the 1.5 mile package to fix the short track package, because they're going to change the car at all the tracks and screw up one to fix the other, just like they did when they saved the 1.5 miles. They screwed up the short tracks and the road courses.
Yep.
I wouldn't be opposed to them to completely designing a short track car. Just totally redesign the car, take the bottom body panels off the car, give them, a little bitty spoiler, put the old tires back, the old skinny tires back on the car, throw in 1,000 horsepower, throw out tires that'll wear out, and we'll have good short track racing. But leave the current 1.5 mile intermediate track package alone, because they're great races. Even Texas.
Yep.
So, got Texas coming up. Let's go racing.
I agree. Again, I apologize. Technical difficulties. You'll see it. hopefully next week. I plan on getting some equipment for the next episode and then so on. So hopefully we won't have this problem anymore. I apologize because I know my editing skills are not that good. Working on that. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like. If you didn't, comment down below what you didn't like. Subscribe so you know when the next episode is uploaded. Also, I go live once every week, and I try to upload a VR video once a week as well. Won't have the time this week like I did, same as last week. I didn't have the time. Yeah, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when a new podcast or video uploads, or when I go live streaming some games. We'll see you next week at Texas. And with further ado, peace out, right on, God bless.